is a RAV scale here, but you may well have it on a handpan too. So whatever you're using, I hope this is useful. If you've got a Golden Gate scale, but it's not C, this will also be useful. All you've got to do is write out all of the notes and put the numbers underneath. And that way you can translate what I'm saying here into whichever pan you've got. So if you've got a pan that's in a Lydian scale or Golden Gate, this is the one for you. And if you've got a C, even better, just settle in and have a watch. I use a numbering system for harmony, which may be different from a numbering system that you've seen used for pans before. Stick with it, it might be helpful. The first thing to know about the Golden Gate is it's not a major or a minor scale, two of the scales we're super used to. It's called a Lydian, and that's one of the modes. It starts off sounding a lot like it's in C major, but then we get this F sharp, G, and a B. So we've got two different ways to think about it. This means that we think of our pan in a kind of C major with this Lydian twist up as we get up there, but don't worry about that for now. So firstly, let's have a little look at the notes we have available to us. C, we've got a little leap up to E. Already we're missing some notes out. Another leap up to G. Another leap to B. And we've reached our octave Cs already. Then we walk up to D. Then we take our leap to our Lydian note, our spicy note, our F sharp. And then we're stepping up again for G. And one more leap to B. So we've got some doubles here. We've got two Cs, we've got two Gs, we've got two Bs. That's quite a nice amount of octaves. That means that we can really emphasize things if we want. Then we've got one E, one D, and one F sharp. Let's look at stringing them together into some chords. First chord, the tonic, is one of the most important chords. It's our home, it's our root. To build up this chord, the tonic, you need note number 1, note number 3, and note number 5. For us, that's C, E, and G. Firstly, we want any note that's a C, any that's an E, or any that's a G. It's a lovely major round sound to it. Our second chord is D. Normally in C major, our second chord would be a D minor chord. We know it's definitely a D chord, but we've got to work out whether it's major or minor. And here, because we've got a sharpened note, F sharp, it actually makes a major sound. It sounds really bright. We don't have anything like an A on here to complete that, so we've only got the two notes to imply it. But it's D major is our chord 2. By itself, it just sounds really cheerful as well. Now let's go for chord 3. Here we've got an E minor sound, the slightly sadder, melancholy sound. It's a pretty important chord in music, and it sounds lovely here. It's really nice to have it all available down here, as well as some additional bits up there. Next, we've got some kind of F chord for chord 4. We know that. Again, normally in C major, that would be an F natural, but because this is our Lydian F, it's an F sharp. That gives us quite an unusual chord to fill in for our chord 4, because we need a C sharp to really kind of round it out. So it means the thing that we can imply is something called F diminished, which sounds pretty unusual because we know we have an F. We know we want some kind of note 1 in that chord as well. So we've got an F sharp, no A or anything like that, and no C sharp, only C natural. It sounds like this. So hearing those two notes together isn't something that we do very frequently, isn't something that happens very often. It's actually called a tritone, and it used to be banned in religious music because they thought it was the devil's interval. So play it with care. Next, we move to G major with loads of notes to make this sound really rich. We need our G, our B, and our D. So that's 5, 7, and 2. 5, 7, 2. Next up is A. We really don't have an A here to work with, so our chord 6, again, it has to be implied. It's a kind of A minor. We've got a C and an E. That's what we can work with here. So we don't have too much of that one on our plate. Next, we've got B. We can do loads of this. We've got our B minor. So we've got 7, 2, and 4. And because of that F sharp, we've got a really lovely sounding B minor chord. That's what we want here. And then back around to 1 again. So let's just have a little go at playing through all of those chords. Chord 1. Chord 2. Chord 4, remember this is our slightly creepy one. It's a really unstable chord that it wants to move away, it wants to resolve. This is chord 5, our G major. Chord 6, our A minor. We don't really have much to work with here. Chord 7, our B minor. And back to C. Just to show you what I mean, if we take an A from somewhere else, we can fill out those implied chords. So imagine that we borrow an A when we come to play our A minor chord. It gives a much stronger sense of A minor if we now have. And similarly, if we play our tritone but with an A in, it at least makes a little bit more sense, even if it still sounds quite clashy. Or we can use it to thicken out our chord 2, our D major. But if you don't have an A available to you to borrow, don't worry about it. You don't need it. You've got everything you need right here with your golden gate. But that's what I mean about these implied chords. So let's have a go at working through a few of the chords. Let's pass between 1, 5, and 7. 1. Go to 5. To 7. Back to 1. 1. 5. 7. And 1. So because of the Lydian nature of this mode, it's kind of easy to shift it into G as well, and start to think of G as our tonal center. In which case we think of it like this. G is 1. A is 2. B is 3. C is 4. D is 5. E is 6. F sharp is 7. F diminished. And back to G. So often when I'm improvising, I find myself starting in C major and finishing in G, which is totally fine and cool. And we have that slightly malleable, flexible idea, so you're allowed to move between those two things as you play. Luckily, you don't need to understand exactly which tonality you're working in to understand how to make it sound beautiful. Whenever I'm playing around with this pan, I really like to lead on that F sharp. It works well over loads of different chords. So let's try that same exercise, but we're just going to keep this F sharp running. It might be a bit clashy with some of those ideas. we'll go for our chord 1, our chord 5, and our chord 7 again. So it's not even in the first one, but already it starts to sound really cool. 7, back to 1, and just resolving it right at the end. 5, 7, back to chord 1, resolve up to a G. How would you just play around with that idea over different chords? It sounds so beautiful. The relationship between this F sharp and this G, because it's only a semitone, they're right next to each other. It's almost like it's pulling it up. And you can use the top end to make some lovely kind of really lamenting melodies, really thoughtful melody. Let's just try a little melody up at the top. There's something really sweet and plaintive about it, and yeah, as I say, I love to play around bringing that F sharp and that in contrast with the B and the G. Let's look at two chords. Our B, chord 7, and chord 1. They sit so easily under the hands. And another trick I love to use when composing with this particular RAV is to keep things really high and use a really nice descending bass line. Let's say I've got a really simple tune at the top, just and I want to change the feel up of this. I can go all the way down, starting to the ding. These two, G then C. Let's try the pattern again, starting with your D. Then down. Down again. Down again. Hit the ding. Interesting thing about this scale, because the ding doesn't always feel like home, it really sits in this uneasy, unsettled position, dancing around that Lydian, finding and dancing around its home. It means that you can really utilise that in your compositions. So really simple tunes and really gently moving bass lines sound so lovely, and this pan rings out for so long as well, you can really settle into some tunes. I hope that's useful. I'd love to see what you come up with your C Golden Gates or any kind of Golden Gate, any kind of Lydian pan with this sort of a layout. Let me know how you're getting on. If it's useful, please like, comment and subscribe, and let me know what topics you'd like me to cover next or which scale you'd like me to take a deep dive into. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!